Hi! So I'm going to do a video on how to solder links. I have two different setups here. The first one is links individually, and then the second one is links connected together. These are sterling silver 18 gauge. What I've done over here is I have a pile of solder that I've cut. I'm using medium silver solder. You always want to make sure to clean it with steel wool, and what that looks like is just going over it with extra fine steel wool a few times like that, and then cutting it with your cutters. So I've already made a pile over here. When I'm doing the links individually, what I want to do is I want to prep everything before I even turn on the torch. So I'm going to pick up the little pieces of solder, and hopefully you can see this clearly enough. I'm going to lay them right down by the solder seam. And I have them, when I lean them up, they've already been fluxed. When I set them all up, I set them up so that the opening is all facing the same direction, so that when I do the setup, it just cuts out a little bit of time, so I don't have to go searching for it. You can put it right on top, you can put it on the inside or the outside. It really doesn't matter as long as it's touching that opening. And if you're having trouble getting your solder to stick, you can dip your tweezers in a little bit of water, and that'll get them to stick really nicely. You just want to be careful not to overdo the water. Okay, so now I have my solder resting on my joint right here. There's one outside, one inside, and one sitting right on top. These ones I'm going to do afterwards. I'm just going to start with these. So I have my torch here. I have my smallest torch tip on. I use a acetylene tank, acetylene air setup system. And I'm going to leave my exhaust off just so you guys can hear me on the video. If I turn it on, it's going to be too loud. Normally, of course, you want to have exhaust going. So, you always want to make sure you have a pick in your hand. I've been ambidextrous since I was a kid, so it makes it a little bit easier, but sometimes it just takes practice to get used to that. So I'm going to start with the first one. I'm going to go around just a little bit, and then I'm going to heat the connection. Hopefully you guys can see. Boom, it just jumps right on there. Go around, heat the whole thing, and then focus on the connection. When I'm doing it, I'm sort of focusing on the bottom half. Okay, they all went. Now, if they didn't all go, what I usually do is I'll do one more chance, and I'll take another piece of solder, I'll pick it up with tweezers, put it on the spot, and then heat it again. If after 2 tries it doesn't work, I pickle it, take a look at it, and then try again later. But when it's heated, what happens is the more you heat it, it just gets dirty. And when the solder or any part of the piece is dirty, the solder's not going to flow. That's why you clean the solder, that's why you make sure everything is as clean as you can get it. Now for these, it's going to be a little bit different. And basically, I'm going to set it up so that one at a time, my opening, it's right here. I'm going to turn on my torch and you'll see what I'm going to do. So the trick here is I actually isolate one piece of solder. I heat it till it turns into a ball, and then I scoop it up with my pick. So now it's right on the tip of my pick. Now the pick itself is made of, I think, stainless steel. So it's gonna get a lot hotter and retain the heat more than your silver, more than your solder, more than anything else. And solder itself is always gonna wanna go to the hottest thing it's touching or it's near. So what you have to do is you have to heat up your silver piece or gold or whatever you're working with, and make sure that it's hot enough so that the solder wants to jump over. So basically all that means is that you keep the pick out of the heat as much as possible. So I'm going to heat it up just a little bit, focus on the connection. My solder pick is off to the side. I'm going to bring it down to get the solder to jump, and it jumped over. Okay, now what you're looking for here is the solder is going to do different, or sorry, not the solder, the flux is going to do different things at different temperatures. So first it's going to go all white, then it's going to turn a little bit brownish like it's sweating, and then it's going to turn a little bit brown, and then it's going to look like it's sweating. And when it's sweating, when it looks like your metal is actually sweating and there's beads of sweat, that's when the solder is about to flow. So turn it into a ball. If it doesn't turn into a ball, skip it, it means it's dirty. So here, this one already got a little hot from being nearby the other ones, but I'm gonna heat it up a little bit. When it looks like it's sweating, that's when I'm gonna bring the solder down. You see it jumped right over, and there it's done. I'm gonna use my pick. Now, feel free if you're not comfortable using both hands to stop, turn your torch off, set it down, readjust, and then go back to doing this. And you can also stop and readjust. Take your tweezers, pick it up, and put the solder right on there, just like you did with the other three. This is just, I'm used to it. I've been doing it for so long. This is what I do. So, turn it into a little ball, scoop it up. Sometimes it doesn't work the first time, so heat it again, scoop it. Oh, now it's getting sticky. Sometimes there's flux on the board that it'll just stick to. There we go, I got it. Okay, so heat again. Bring your pick over and boom, all soldered. Then pickle, hammer, good to go.